Hi, it's Brett Sokolow, the president of ATIXA. Whenever I think about the history of Title IX, I think about Bunny Sandler, Bernice. Those of you who knew her as Bunny. She was the godmother of Title IX and really helped to ensure its passage. And according to her telling of it, and I have no reason to doubt her about this, she was the person who suggested to the Department of Education that a Title IX coordinator was necessary and should be built into the Title IX regulations. So when the 2011 Dear Colleague letter came out and ATIXA was founded, Bunny was just tremendously tickled by the idea that there would be a national association dedicated to the idea of a Title IX coordinator, which of course was an idea that she germinated. And so when she contacted us and got to know all of us at ATIXA, we became fast friends and eventually invited Bunny to come and do some co-presentations with us. And before the training, she said to me, I'm really excited to do this with you, but you need to know that I demand pay equity as far as being a presenter is concerned. So whatever you are making for this event, I need to make exactly the same amount or I'm not willing to do it. And I thought about that for a minute and I said, well, Bunny, our organization is producing the event. We have overhead related to it. We've created considerable materials. There's time that's gone into that. So the compensation is different, although I think fair to you, because of the greater effort that we've put in on our end. And she said, well, definitely take all of your expenses out, but then we should be able to have an equal payment for the equal work because we're sitting at the same table, talking about the same things, doing it together, spending the same amount of time, and we have relatively equal backgrounds and expertise. I would defer and say she probably had far greater background and expertise at that point. And I said, well, but the materials, that we're bringing to play in all of this, I've spent months, if not years, developing them. And you're bringing your voice, you're bringing your expertise to the table, but not necessarily contributing the same in terms of the materials. So the compensation needs to be a little different as a result. Well, the next thing I knew, I had an email on my desk with what must have been 40 years worth of her accumulated materials related to investigations. And I called her up and I said, Bunny, these are amazing. Are these for us to use during the Gallaudet training? She said, they're yours to use for whatever it is that you want. You've contributed your materials and expertise. I'm contributing mine. And I'm thrilled if ATIXA can make use of the work product that I've created over many, many years of investigations. And so I said to her, well, we're going to have absolute pay equity with respect to this event. Whatever I make, you'll make. Whatever you make, I'll make. And we will sit at the table as absolute equals. And I will never forget, because she was willing to back out. She was willing to say, I'm not going to do this unless I'm compensated equitably. She wanted to contribute equitably, but she just fervently believed in that. I wasn't, of course, trying to treat her inequitably on the basis of sex. I was trying to keep things even in terms of intellectual property and contributions of work product, and she made that completely even and taught me a very important lesson about pay equity, one that I have used with respect to presentations that we have done through ATIXA. And for those of you who have a memory of this, when we celebrated the 40th anniversary of Title IX, Bunny was there with us in Chicago to do so, and she had the honors of cutting the 9 cake. We had a cake made in the shape of a Roman numeral of the numbers 9, and so she was the master of ceremonies in cutting that cake and leading us in our celebration of the 40th anniversary. She's not here to celebrate the 50th with us, but I know she is in spirit, and I think her legacy is well established, especially as it influenced me and our practices at ATIXA with respect to equitable compensations. So happy 50th anniversary or birthday, depending on how you look at it, Title IX. Hopefully others will post their videos as well, and we will celebrate together as a community the accomplishments that Title IX has made and all of the things that we hope and know that Title IX will achieve as we work toward greater gender equity in education in the future. Thanks.